Welcome to our fifth Google Plus Hangout for the Introduction to Public Speaking, the Learning cohort. My name is Jay Oza. I'm one of the mentors, and I also like to think of myself as a student because I think public speaking is a lifetime of skill development activity. So part of the thing is that I'm looking to learn from all of you, and also at the same time, if I can teach any of you some of the things that I have learned over the years and get better. So I'm in the same boat as everyone here. Today, it's going to be a little bit less structured than usual, as so far we have only two other people, three people total. So what we're going to do is kind of talk a little bit about the informative speech and what are some of the challenges that some of you may be having and how to get you to overcome some of those challenges. And then I may even give one of my informative speech that I'm working on. And again, part of this whole call is to learn how to get a feedback from others and do it live. And one of the things I like to emphasize to all of you who are watching this is that there are no shortcuts to becoming a good speaker. You're gonna have to keep doing it till you start improving. There is no perfect speech. You just kind of have to get more and more comfortable as you do it. So at this point, I'd like others to introduce themselves, and then we can get this thing going. Yeah, Julie, go ahead.
Okay, hi, I'm Julie. I live in Chicago, and I totally appreciate what Jay said about doing it. I have a speech on my informative speech on meditation, and just through mumbling it and getting feedback from last week, I have two versions. And I'm realizing that I do need live feedback because I get stuck. I'm not sure how this new tone will sound. So I'm very grateful to be here, and hopefully everybody gets something out of my experiments and explorations with the informative speech. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Julie. Somyun, do you want to do a quick intro?
Okay, I don't know. I don't seem to get a bit short here. If I go a little more back, I think my voice will drop a lot further. So let me stand here.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
So one of the things people may have, as a barrier in practicing informative speeches is how many areas are they going to be experts in to be able to really provide an informative speech. One of the definitions in informative speech is that it's an area where you are an expert and your audience may be interested in the topic on which you are willing to talk. So to find this intersection is going to be a challenge. Okay. So in my own initiation to the speaking context, I found talking about any subject to be a little easy because I was promoting Wikipedia at the time. And in any topic on earth, you can find Wikipedia articles, and I could always string together a couple of Wikipedia articles together and produce a fairly informative content for the purpose of discussion. Okay. So now the informative speech I made for my own earlier participation was about Wikipedia. What is Wikipedia like? There are some people who say Wikipedia is not reliable, and so how do I see the reliability aspect of Wikipedia? Okay. What's the amount of content that's available? Why should I even promote other people practicing the same kind of thing? Why should others also talk about Wikipedia? It's a non-profit. It's a way of spreading knowledge. So it's a win-win situation. If people can talk about Wikipedia articles, string to the content from any articles in a speech, that will in fact try and promote Wikipedia also. So it's a win-win situation that I wanted to promote. So that's the way I was looking at this informative dimension to me. So that's all I have to say for now.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I think.
Voice was audible. Standing back and talking. I don't know whether the voice level dropped. That's always my fear.
Right. So, yeah, once you move back, it fades a little bit, but we could still hear it. I think the issue with yours is not the voice. I think it's the bandwidth. That's the issue there. So, I mean, otherwise I could hear your voice, but I think there might be some bandwidth related issue where you are. But anyway, but it was good. We got what you were saying, because one of the things that I wanted to talk about was because I've been working on my speech. So here it is. I don't know if you can see it.
Okay.
And
Is the voice clear now? Is it better now
yeah,
than it was earlier?
yeah.
I think I had the fan running, and that was making a lot of noise. And maybe my voice got drowned in the noise of the fan, as far as the microphone and things like that are concerned. Okay, maybe what I should do is I should switch off the fan for the duration of my talk, and then resume. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I'm not sure. It's up to you. I'm not sure it makes that much of a difference. It's up to you. Anyway, so Julie, you want to kind of, before you give your speech, you want to just kind of talk about like how you, because I think this is something that could help others. Like let's say somebody's going to have to mute your line. I think, Julie, I'm hearing some feedback.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. One of the things that I'd like all of us to kind of do is kind of describe your process, not too long, but like how did you, because a lot of people when they start thinking about informative speech, they don't know where to start. I know Dr. McGarity goes into all of this, but it's important to know how you started it and how you put it together, and are you like at this point, where are you? Are you like 80% done, 90% done, or at this point that's it, you are completely finished? And I think it'll help others who are watching it to understand what it takes to put an informative speech together. So if both of you can kind of take a few minutes and kind of explain your process, I think that will help others who are going to watch this later. Okay, Julie.
Okay, so I'll take a couple minutes. So I started off wanting to do meditation speech because I'm very passionate and I actually want to, I have been teaching meditation for the last 25 years or so in different settings. And I want to be able to do more of that. So that's how I picked meditation. It's my own personal field of expertise and practice. And I also want to do it because it's, I think it's very beneficial and very easy to enter. And I started off, this is probably like my 5th draft. And yes, last week we were talking about doing a pitch on the meditation, and I got a lot of feedback, and I wanted to incorporate that into this version. And that draft that I show you was before the last week. And I realized one of the things that I really wanted to do was to introduce my expertise, but to do it on a personal, experiential level. That was one of the feedbacks. And the other feedback I got was that I needed to be more enthusiastic. And I really want to be more enthusiastic. You know, this is what I'm trying to do. On the other hand, I don't think I can be enthusiastic like the way Professor McGarity is. It's just too much body motion for me. So I'm playing with the idea of how do I project enthusiasm without running all over the place. So that's my own personal exploration. So I'm rewriting the speech on those 2 key points.
Right. And I think what you just said is very, very important, that working on a speech is an iterative process, and until you get more feedback and do it, you get more feedback. It's that whole process that I think you just described is very important. Like you said, last week you gave a pitch. You're gonna have to mute your line. You gave a pitch, and what that did was, yeah, I'm sure it probably felt a little uncomfortable, but what it allowed you to do is to get some feedback. Some of it you probably used, some of it you said, okay, that's good, but I'm not sure that's me. That's just fine. You have to make choices. Part of giving a speech, I think Dr. McGarity says in one of the lectures, you have to make choices so that you have clarity. And I think that's what you're kind of referring to, taking some of the ideas from the course and experimenting it yourself, and now you just showed that this is your 5th draft, and I think it kind of goes to show that speaking is hard. I don't want to create this impression that anybody can go out and give a speech. The people that you see giving good speeches, they've practiced it maybe dozens, if not hundreds of times, okay? And there was a talk, there's TED Talks. When we see these people give a talk, that's not the first time they've given that speech. That's probably like the 100th time they're given that speech. So if Julie, if you're giving your speech the 5th time, you still have 94, 95 more times to go before you can say that, wow, Julie, that was such a great speech. So the point I'm making in a long, winding way is that this is hard. This takes time, and you just have to be patient and be willing to learn. That's the only way you're going to become a better speaker, and that's what I try to do. So, Soumya, you want to add something to it about your process and how you go about crafting a speech and then delivering it?
Yeah. See, the first and foremost thing I felt in an informative speech was that you have to create a credibility. So I like the idea that impromptu speech is logos, that is logic. Informative speech is ethos, that is credibility of the person who is informing. And the third speech, persuasive speech is about pathos, which is emotion. Okay, so I look at these 3 speeches in this way. So in a informative speech, I need to say, look, I'm an expert. You can take information from me and it's safe. You are getting it from a very credible source. So from that point of view, I can't be taking any subject and putting together an informative speech about it. Okay, so I have to generally be talking about areas in which I have fairly good degree of experience, exposure, and so on. And as a starting point, I should talk about that. Why should you take this information from me? What is my credibility? What have I been doing? Where have I been? Those kind of things are my first point to address. Then, informative speech is essentially for creating a certain degree of awareness. I should know in my area of expertise what are the gaps in understanding the public have or the audience that I am speaking to may have. If I go to a conference where there are a lot of subject matter experts, that's a different context. But if I'm going to be talking to laymen, that's a different context. So I need to know what is the level at which my audience is. I should not overreach that level. If they are capable of, their ability to understand is a certain level, I should fly down to that level and talk. If I am speaking to subject matter experts, I can even get away with acronyms and so on and so forth. But when I'm talking to lay audience, I need to use words and terminology that they can understand. So this is the way I look at it. I generally look at that as I first introduce myself, I establish my credibility in the area of talking, then I go on to say, address the major areas of lack of awareness that target audience is likely to have, and go about informing them on that. That's my plan for a informative speech. That's all I have for now.
Yeah. Julie, before you give your speech, what I'd like you to do is just kind of talk about what you kind of mentioned it. It's about meditation. I'll leave it up to you. Do you want to just kind of discuss how you have organized your speech, and then afterwards you can then actually present it if you want to do that?
Sure. Do you want me to take a couple minutes?
Yeah, it can take like 2 minutes and kind of give us so here was my idea on how to, this is what I want to talk about. My main thesis is meditation. So to get that point across, I've organized it in this particular manner. And then after you do that, then either I can do it and then we can come back and you can give your speech. Okay. So it's up to you, however you want to do it, okay?
Okay. So yeah, I would just... Sorry, I'm trying to be disciplined about time. So whenever I do any kind of communication, I try to use the sandwich technique. So the sandwich technique is tell them what I tell them, and then tell them what I told them.
Mm-hmm.
So the sandwich technique is the introduction, the content, and the conclusion or summary. So in my introduction, I try to, before I even establish credibility, I try to create a connection. That I'm a human being and you're a human being and we connect. In this case, I do try to establish my credibility that I have done meditation for over 30 years and I've always had an interest in the body-mind techniques. And that even in my 20s, when I started out as a programmer trainee, I organized yoga classes. And so my goal here is to help people with meditation, just to transfer the knowledge of it. So that's my introduction. In the body of the meditation, I talk about there's 4 basic areas I want to talk about, which is the use of the body and posture, the use of breath, and the use of the mind, which is attention and intention, and then some practice hints. So I go through that, and each of them I try to use a couple points, and I try to use examples. That sounds a bit mechanical and stilted because the information is, pretty. It's not emotional. It's pretty content-driven in terms of technical. And then, so one of the things I try to do in the body section is overcome deterrence. And then in conclusion, I try to bring that back into people's lives, how they can use it. Oh, the 4th point is practice hints, how to make it a real-life meditation practice. And then in conclusion, I try to bring up personal experience, how it could work for them, and then recap the 4 points, and then encouraging them to meditate.
Looks like it's a pretty good organization. Right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what I'll do now is I'll just kind of, I think what I'll do is I'll describe like how I organized my speech, and then what we'll do after. So I mean, do you have a speech today or not? Or are you just going to review?
No, I don't have a speech today.
Okay, then you'll just be reviewing. Okay, good. So the title of my speech is, I'll just kind of give you so that at least you're introduced to it. So when I give it, it's not going to be like, whoa, where's this all coming from? So the title that I've given is Think Different to Win Big in Business. So that's my title. And I start with an introduction, and my introduction starts with a quote from Henry Ford. And then the main idea of my speech is this, that to be really successful in business, you have to solve a problem that the customers don't even know you're solving. So that theme kind of carries over to the 3 examples that I give. One of them is Starbucks. The second one is Procter Gamble. And the third one is my own personal one. And then I basically, at that point, after giving 3 examples to show that this thread kind of carries over to all these 3 examples, I just basically conclude my speech just recapping what I just talked about. So that's how I've organized my speech. And it took me a while to get this. This is my, I would say, something like, I've been working on this since last week because I gave the pitch to Julie and Mercedes, and I think some of you were watching it. So I've already gone through it, and by the time I give it live today, I've thought about this probably now for more than, I would say, close to 2 weeks. Okay? Somin, do you have any comments? Otherwise, we'll just go to Julie to give her speech.
Go ahead.
Okay, Julie, mic is yours.
Okay, we set it for 10 minutes.
Okay.
I don't know how long it should be.
Sorry, let me make one small comment. Vaza, I think what you said is perhaps something similar to what Julie was mentioning, that you wanted to say what you are going to say and say that with examples. I think I was thinking that maybe you could have added some small description about yourself to start with. about you as a management expert, from whom they should take this thought.
Okay, yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. That's something you can comment later on. Okay.
Okay, here we go.
I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do it on the fly right now. So that will be your comment later on. So you already got the comment of my speech before I even given the speech. Wow, that's amazing.
Genius at work.
He's so good that he can even review your speech before you even give it.
Yeah.
All right, Julie. So
Okay,
just take a deep breath and then start.
Okay, so it's going to be rough because I'm between the two. So greetings from Chicago, and I'm Julie, originally from China. I started doing meditation in my 20s, and I joined a Zen center, and I've taught meditation in both professional and specific religious, spiritual settings. But today, I think that meditation is something that is useful for everybody, and there is a trend here for people wanting to meditate, and I would like to share some of my experiences with you. Meditation is a practice that's a combination of three elements: the body, the breath, and your mind, which is basically attention and intention. So today I just want to share those three elements with you, and then also a little bit of practice hints how to really put it into your life. Most of us do know what meditation is, and when I talk to people, they have an idea that meditation is something you do. It's very difficult to do, and it's good for you if you can get to it. Sometimes people think that it helps people focus their mind. I'm not going to talk about too much time in terms of the benefits of meditation, but that please come to my persuasive speech, forthcoming speech. So to talk about meditation for people who are not, a Zen practitioner or a yogi, is a little bit different than a yogi, and the whole idea for me is how do we make it so that it's beneficial for you and it's not too difficult. The truth of it is, to quote 10 in a Search Inside Yourself, is meditation is embarrassingly easy. So there's three components. The first one is posture. The key to meditation is two words: relaxed and alert. Relaxed and alert. Relaxed and alert. So to be relaxed, you relax your body. Okay? To alert, you stay alert with your mind. And most people think that I think this is very funny. Most pictures of meditation is you see people sitting on their butts with their knees up like butterflies. That is actually very unsafe, okay? So the first thing I want you to do is don't sit like that. Sit on a chair is fine. You can lie down, or you can even walk. The whole key to the posture is being in alignment with gravity. So that's kind of like straight, keep your spine straight. Your body is relaxed. The second thing is your mind. Your mind is alert. So how do you keep your mind alert? It's actually very simple, right? You want to keep your mind anchored to something. So for the beginning meditator, all you have to do is keep anchored to your breath. So if you can just say, I am breathing in and I'm breathing out. Breathing in, I know I'm breathing in. Something like that, breathing in and breathing out. That's the second component, breath. The third one is mind. So a mind is intention and attention. When you intend to meditate, when you intend to keep your body relaxed and keep your mind alert, you've done meditation. So your meditation practice can be, I would like to keep my body alert. body relaxed and my mind alert, and you've done meditation. A very short time, but you've done it. So what is the recommended time? Recent cutting-edge neuroscience have found that 2 minutes is all it takes for your mind to change. The brain has been determined in this term called plasticity, which means your brain is not dead. It's not rigid. It is changes and grows. So every time you meditate, you are adding brain cells to your body. And that becomes a habit and a resource you have in all your activities. So I've gone over the 4 basic elements of meditation is relax your body, keep it straight, either sitting, lying, or walking. Take nice breaths, relaxed breaths, whatever that is. And then using your mind to say, I know I'm breathing in, or I'm breathing in. I know I'm breathing out. I know I'm breathing in. I know I'm breathing out. Do it for 2 minutes a day. It's been recorded in the cutting-edge neurosciences. Neuro means our brain. We all know what science is. It's been documented that 2 minutes a day will change our brain structure. This is also substantiated by Barbara Oakley's course in Learning to Learn. She has determined through her research it only takes 67 seconds for your mind to change. So in conclusion then, I hope I have transferred to you how embarrassingly easy this whole meditation is. Now there is oodles and oodles of knowledge. Once I Googled the word meditation, I found 57,000 entries. Hopefully this will cut you to the chase and get you going. I do not want to oversell meditation, so meditation is also very difficult. So what makes it difficult? The difficulty is not in the practice, not in doing meditation. The difficulty is in maintaining the practice on a day-to-day basis. So here's some hints for that. Tie it to something you do regularly. If you make coffee, it probably takes a couple minutes between the time you put the coffee in the brewer, it comes out. Take those 2 magic minutes and do meditation. Do it with a buddy. Find a meditation buddy, someone who's really stressed or have health issues or have goals of power or enlightenment, and do this practice. These are traditional pathways ancient Eastern people use to increase their health, increase their ability to heal or help others, increase their power as in martial arts, and increase their awareness as in on the path of enlightenment. Now, you don't have to do this for those reasons. You can do it just to be healthier, happier, be more successful. There is a book called Search Inside Yourself by Tan, T-A-N. And you can even find it free on the internet. And he's written this book for lay people like you and me, to how to use meditate to be more successful, to be a better leader, and to be more happy and joyful. With that, I would like to conclude and just say that in my own life, I have noticed that I am less judgmental. You know, between the time someone says something and I create some kind of opinion, I have a couple breaths there that I can open up more opportunities. So that helps me to learn, and I love to learn. So that's what meditation does for me. And over 30 years, I can only say that it gets easier and it gets more difficult. It's easier to do it, but you really begin to see who you really are and where you can improve. So with that, I thank you and invite you to my next speech, the persuasive speech. Thank you very much.
Oh, that was excellent. That was excellent.
Really?
Yeah, no, that was good. So, Julie, what I'll do is rather than go through the review right now, because you did a lot of good things there, there were a few things that I think I'll leave it up to you to see what you think. But overall, I think this was really very good, very well done. I'll let you think about it so that you can do
Okay.
your self-evaluation. And while you're doing it, I'll give my speech so that way you'll come back and talk about what you felt, what you think you did well, and what you think you could have done better. But my overall general feeling is that this was really well done, and there are a lot of good things that you did that I want to point out later, okay? But I want you to think more
Thank you.
about it, so that way I'd like to hear from you before I give my comment, because your comment is going to be more important than mine. So, Somin, do you have any quick thoughts before I give my speech?
Yeah, I liked it very much. I, in fact, even felt that going beyond a little bit of informative speech, she also added some motivational aspect by suggesting what will be the benefit to the end user. You know, you can be healthier, happier, be successful, and so on and so forth. She also narrated a personal experience of being less judgmental, etc., and as the benefit that she herself received. Those things were also, bordering on a little bit of persuasiveness. This is perfectly all right, and I think it was a very good speech.
Okay, Julie. So, all right. So now I'll give my speech, and then we'll go to Julie for her self-evaluation, and then I'll give my evaluation. Okay, so I'll just get started. Hi, my name is Jay Oza, and I have a small consulting company called Tool Group. And what I do in this company is I work with startup companies and help them generate sales. Now, what I found with many of these companies that I work with is that they have a good product, they have good people. What prevents them from succeeding is they just can't sell. Now, that sounds simple, like how difficult can that be? And if you ask them that, are you solving your customer's problem? And they will all say, yes, we are solving the problem. And you know what? They are absolutely would be correct. They do solve a problem. But what I've found is that that's not enough. To be really successful is you have to solve a customer's problem that they don't even know that you're solving. Let me repeat that again. You have to solve a customer's problem that they don't even know that you're solving. I'd like to start with this quote from Henry Ford. And he said that if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses, unquote. Obviously, he could not create faster horses. So what he did was something different. He created an automobile. He solved customers' problem that they didn't even know he was solving. And this applies whether you are a solopreneur, you're in business for yourself, an entrepreneur, whether you have a small startup, or whether you're an intrapreneur, which is thinking like an entrepreneur in a large organization. In this talk, I'm going to give 3 examples. 2 of them are quite famous, and then the third one is my own personal one, what my observation has been related to this theme, that you solve customers' problem that they don't even know you're solving. So let's start with the first example that you're all probably familiar with, is Starbucks. Many of you probably have gone there recently to have a coffee or to meet someone. Starbucks was founded by Howard Schultz and to sell gourmet coffee. And I think it was like around the 80s. And at that time, it wasn't even called Starbucks. At that time in America, coffee was like a hot drink, nothing really that special. He wanted to change that. His goal was to make coffee special like it is in Italy. But how do you do that? How do you do that? He couldn't just make a better coffee. He had to do something different. He had to create a better experience. So what he did was he came up with this concept called the third place. Now what this is simple. First place is your home. Second place is at work. And third place, obviously, is the place you go to meet somebody, and he wanted Starbucks to be the de facto third place. So this is where you would go if you want to socialize, meet with your friends, go on a date, discuss business, read a book, maybe even write a book, or just hang out there and listen to nice music. And yes, and while you're there, you're going to enjoy that experience by drinking coffee. This concept makes Starbucks a boatload of money. And today, Starbucks is worth close to $71 billion. So thinking different means he was solving a problem of having people meet at a third place and drinking their coffee products. The second example that I'd like to give is Procter Gamble. Now again, all of us use their name brands. It's a multinational, it's like over $80 billion company. We use their products like Head and Shoulder shampoo, Crest toothbrush, Pampers diapers if you have kids, if you have babies, you name it. They have close to, I think the last estimate, $25 billion brand. But there is one brand they had a real rough start with, and that was Febreze. You see this? This is Febreze. It works, right? And this was a very interesting. Febreze is a product that was designed to remove bad smells from fabric. And it did the job really well. It could remove smells such as skunk smell, pets, cigarette smokes, food, you name it. But they had a big problem. It didn't lead to an increase in their market share. And this just kind of confused the marketing team. Like, wait a second, we're solving customers' problem. Why are more people not buying it? And the executive team also got frustrated and said, you know, we're going to give you a little bit more time, but this is not turning out well. And they give them a few more months, I believe. And then they stumbled upon something very interesting. One time, the marketing team met with this one woman out of Scottsdale, Arizona. And they went into her house and said, wait a second, there doesn't seem like anything that's dirty here or that requires you to use this product on fabric. And she told them, no, I don't use it like that. Look, I have 4 children. I clean their room, and then at the end of it, I'll use a couple of spritzes as a final touch to my cleaning. Boom! Light bulb immediately went on. They thought that their product was going to be used in the beginning, which is to get rid of bad smells. And what they discovered was that this product was used at the end of a cleaning process for many people, that how they were using the product. This discovery and insight meant that they had to go and change their whole marketing campaign and advertisement. The way they were marketing the product was that they could get rid of bad smells from fabric. After this discovery, they changed it to cleans life's smells, something like that. And that turned this product into a billion-dollar brand. And what they essentially did was, instead of focusing on fabric, they turned it into an air freshener. And now, you know, this product, you would agree, works really well. So thinking different here meant that they had to essentially use this product not as at the beginning, but at the end as a kind of a reward mechanism. after a cleaning process is completed. The third example I'll come to is my own personal one. Now, of course, it's not at the scale of Starbucks and Procter Gamble. If they were, then perhaps I wouldn't be giving this speech. But nevertheless, the thread is still common here. So as I mentioned in the beginning, that I work as I have a small consulting company, and one of the company that I worked for had a unique problem. They had a product or solution that targeted the hospitals to track their equipment. They use this RFID chips that allow them to track these different equipment so that they didn't get lost or stolen. This is a real problem in hospitals, as they're huge, there are so many equipment and there are so many people that they lose a lot of money this way. They keep on buying these equipment, and at the end, this turns into a major cost for them. But they had one problem that they had no control over when working with hospitals, and that was hospitals, even though they use some of the most amazing technical equipment, they don't have a real good network and IT infrastructure. The second is their process are kind of fixed. They don't change that quickly. And third is that it requires a training among their employees so that they can use this type of solution and make it work. This is something they had no control over. And they were struggling. Their business essentially was going nowhere. They were not generating any sales. Out of blue, one day, we get an RFP from one of the largest logistics provider in the world called DHL. And this solution they were looking for was not, of course, in the hospital. It was in their warehouse at customs. The immediate reaction from the CEO and the technical team was, "Oh, we can't respond to this. This is not part of in our bailiwick, which is hospitals." And I took a look at it and I said, "Look, at the end, the problem you're solving is the same. If you take hospitals out and just say you're tracking equipment, what difference does it make? Whether it's in the hospital space or in the logistics space, you're still tracking equipment or tracking something." And I finally was able to convince them that they should respond. But I said, let's do this, because one of the things that, I don't know if you're aware of it, when you get an RFP that you had no involvement, your chances of winning that are practically zero. So I said, look, I'll give DHL a call and ask them if they would be open to an alternative solution, because it looked like the RFP was kind of baked for a competitor. And DHL said, sure, we'll look at it if you propose it. So one weekend, the technical team spent time and came up with a really good solution. To make the story short, they liked our alternative solution, and after doing more due diligence, they awarded us the contract for close to $1 million. Now, think different here meant not that I developed the technical solution. My value add to this team, to this company, was making them think differently, that the solution they had, that they were targeting hospitals, could also be applied to the logistics space. And the other part of it had to do with convincing DHL that the solution that they already had in mind may not be the optimal solution. So that was my value add. And I think that was trying to solve a problem that they didn't even know we were solving. Both sides, both the client that I was working with and the DHL. So again, to close this out, we all like to think that the best way to be successful in business is to solve the customer's problem. And let's face it, we all do that. But that's not what's going to make you really successful. What I've seen from my personal experience and from some of the examples that I've seen, and then you may know many of them yourselves, you really have to solve a problem that the customers don't even know that you're solving. Thanks.
Great, Jay. That was very good. I listened to it almost as if I am a customer, and I didn't know what business you were doing. I think you put all the ideas very neatly. You showed some two external examples and one personal example. In all the three, you are emphasizing the same point, even though the case studies were of a slightly different nature. You are reinforcing the the same core idea. So it was very nicely done. I got a good impression that this method to adopt and follow. It was quite informative and convincing too.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I will get back to more on that because one of the comments I'd like to get from you was that more informative, more persuasive, or it doesn't really matter? Because I always have because I tend to really be more. I like to do more persuasive speech, so I'd like to get your feedback more later once we do the evaluation. So this is going to go a little longer. I hope you guys have time. Is that okay? Okay.
It's okay with me.
Yeah.
As far as this being a little, whether this is informative or persuasive, maybe if you want to have it at a later stage, we will have
Okay.
it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yes, I do
Right.
have.
Okay, Julie, you want to do your self-evaluation? You have to unmute.
I'll take about 2 to 3 minutes.
Go ahead.
So in comparison to you, I think I was a little fast, and I like your pacing. And I think not enough eye contact, and that's because I'm not familiar with the speech yet. I like the organization, and I like. I think the conclusion could use some more work because it could use a little bit more emphasis on what I really want to take home with them. Are you there?
Yeah, we're here.
Okay, for some reason.
No, Somin is just like looking at something.
Oh, I lost you guys on my screen. So on the whole, considering that I'm still not solid on my speech, I'm pretty happy with it. I think the next step is to make a commitment to what I'm going to say it more slowly and more eye contact, and a stronger conclusion.
Okay, good. Yeah, so Julie, I think you should be proud of a lot of things you did well in this speech. I think those are technical things that you will eventually get it if you kept on practicing it. So those are things I think comes with practice. You're not going to do it. This is like what, your fifth time you said, or fourth time you give this speech?
Something like that.
Yeah. So just to give you an idea, I've been working on this speech now, as you can see, for 2 weeks, and I've recorded it like 3-4 times already. So, and before I record it, sometimes I even, as you can see, I've even written the speech, and I even read it. I read it and then make changes because I want to write the speech because that's the way I want to talk, and I'll rehearse these lines over and over and over again. This is part of my process. But anyway, I'm going into my process. I should be talking about yours. These are things I think you did really well. I think you were very authentic, which I think is important when you're talking about a topic like this. That's a big picture as far as I'm concerned, okay? Let's not nitpick on little bit of things here and there. Okay, those things are, that happens. Those speeches are perfect. But if you have to look at it and saying, what's the big picture? You have to sound like you really, really feel the subject. And I think you did that. You were very authentic. You were even vulnerable, which I think also adds a lot to your speech because you don't want to come across like arrogant, like, oh, you do meditation, like, snake oil salesman, like, oh, you're basically talking about meditation from your own heart, from your own personal experience in life and how it's helped you. And that, I think, is very effective. And you talked about some of the struggles you went to, and there were a lot of really good positives, but I'll also talk about certain things that I think your organization was excellent with the body, breath, mind. I think if I had one little thing that you may want to just think about how to integrate it into the speech, it came at the end, I believe, and it had to do with when you were saying what makes it difficult. I would suggest that the word difficult I would not use, just because because everything was flowing very well, you were showing how easy it is, how you can do it 2 minutes and all of that, then all of a sudden the word difficult came, and I think it might have detracted a little bit from saying that rather than using the word difficult, I said, look, this is a long process. It takes time, but you have to start slow. 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, like that. So I mean, that's a minor point. And then because it seems like the ending was there, but then there was other points that you added at the end, which I'm not sure that really helped your speech or not. So you may want to view it and see if those points at the end were something that helped or it wasn't really necessary. That's about the only comment I have. But otherwise, overall, I thought this was a very heartfelt speech that you gave, and that's what comes across, rather than worrying about a little nitpicking about the ending and this and that, whether the speech really moved people, and I think it did.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll just give one sentence response. The reason why I add the difficulty is I want to inoculate people so that when they get stuck, they know that that's part of the process. So, for example, when I was in consulting, I always tell my clients, somewhere along the project, the shit's going to hit the fan. And I want you to know that now, so when that happens, you'll stick with me. And that's what I was trying to do. And I think maybe I needed to move it earlier into the speech.
Yeah, I think that's not like I'm being negative here. I think that's a choice that you have to make. That's all I'm saying. Was that the right choice or not? That's something only you can make the call on that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I think it's not at the right place.
Yeah, so it's a more of a choice. It's a choice point, not like that the word itself. Let's not get hung up on one word. The question is that was that the choice that you want to make if you had to give it again? That's what I'm trying to really bring out. Okay, Soumyan, do you have any comments?
I think Jay's point was the word choice. It's a difficult area which seems to have a negative connotation. Can there be something that gives it a positiveness? When he suggested the alternative, it could be looked at as an opportunity for improvement rather than a problem or something like that. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
anyway,
that's a good point.
I didn't find so much of a issue with that word. I do feel that the people, if it is an informative speech, they would like to know about the difficulties also. Pros and cons can be very well part of a discussion like this. It's only in the impromptu speech we don't want to pitch on the cons as much, but here we can, in the informative speech, you can talk of pros and cons kind of thing. So definitely talk about difficulties as difficulties, I thought was okay. So that is my point about Julie's speech. As far as Jay's speech is concerned, I felt that it was, when I look at things as an informative speech, I look at it with a lot more, information on a subject. Whereas I thought in Oza's speech, there was one theme. I mean, one kind of premise. It was more like an impromptu. In the impromptu, you argue about a point. Whereas here, there's a profound, something like a profound business statement, business idea that was talked about, and the idea was illustrated with the 3 different examples. So the emphasis was a lot more with the illustration of the idea with multiple examples. Okay, and I think I felt that in an informative speech, like if you talk of the C, the C example speech or the dental example speech, etc. There is a lot of information about the dentist related matters or how the hierarchy of one patient another and things like that. Okay, so there was a lot more on the subject matter itself. Whereas in Jay's speech, there was a very, very compact, information content. There was a lot more emphasis on substantiating it with examples and things like that. So that is how it sounded more like a persuasive speech than with a informative speech to me. The second aspect is when you look at it as a persuasive speech. So there one looks at it as what is the objection people have and how can we remove the objection and things like that. I don't think the discussion was on that frame. So from that point of view, it was not in the persuasive framework also. It was Cross between the impromptu speech and the informative speech is the way I felt, with a little bit of emphasis on examples, as normally is done in an impromptu speech. And the theme itself was the one which was being supported with many examples. And the theme perhaps was an informative thing. Ultimately, I took out, look, this theme is worthwhile following. So that's the way I took it out. So it was informative from that perspective. It was not a thesis which you are arguing out. So to that extent, I can say it was information. This is just a afterthought I had on that.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, the reason why I think it was more informative is because I'm not like trying to. There was no call to action. That's how I look at it, right? A persuasive speech always has to have a call to action at the end. Like Julie's speech had a call to action. In my speech, it was more like trying to make you understand, like see something that I've observed or other people have observed and saying, look, this is based on some real live big examples and my personal example, but there was no real call to action like, hey, if you do this, you too can be a successful. That wasn't the main point of it. It was just try to support the main theme by saying, hey, listen, if I just give you my own personal example, then I'm not building up the credibility of this theme. But if I say, like, if I give you Starbucks and you buy it, then you may say, yeah, that's true. If I buy Procter Gamble, then if my example comes at the end, then said, oh yeah, it applies even at a smaller scale too. So that's why I thought it was more informative on that basis. If it was a persuasive speech, then it would be completely different because then I have to come up. The organization would be a lot different if it was a persuasive speech, because then I have to go into the ill blame cures, and that wasn't really here. I wasn't trying to go into those parts here. Julie, do you have any comment?
All that?
Yeah, I have two comments. One is I like what you said in the summary that this applies to small companies too. And I would like to hear that explicitly when you talk about your own experience. For example, you could say, I would like to give you an example how this idea applies to the small companies.
Mm-hmm.
And then along that line, my only negative feedback is, again, something similar. You went on to say, in that part, you say, I'm not Procter Gamble. If I am, I won't be giving that speech to you. You diminish yourself and the topic. What I would put it is, here is my own personal experience, and this really proves that the same idea can help small companies to be quantumly more effective. And so it's rewording it. So instead of saying, I'm not Procter Gamble, you want to say, I am a small company, and this idea really works for small companies too. And here's how I show you how I can be successful with my clients by using this idea.
Yeah, no, that's a that's a good point. I should have done that if I didn't get to do my self-evaluation, but that's true. See, those are things that are hard because what happens is that when you're giving a speech, when you don't have notes in front of you, and you have to improvise, and sometimes those type of that was more like a nervous. A nervous point. That wasn't, if I had to think about it, I wouldn't have said it like that. But
right.
That's what happens in speech. They're never perfect. There are always these points that you have to end up making, and then you regret it. Oh my God, I wish I didn't. And a lot of times, what happens is people don't notice it. You notice it more than others, but in this case, you did pick it up.
Because I'm evaluating.
No, right. But if it was a really given a speech, it wouldn't be picked up at all.
Right. The only thing I have to say to that is, Jay, meditation.
Yeah, right. You have to meditate before you. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I say one thing here?
Yeah.
I really don't think that saying I'm not Procter Gamble is making myself look weak or small. What I felt was at that time was that is the way most of the people, most of your audience are thinking, oh, well, he's talking of some Procter & Gamble. I am not Procter & Gamble. How is this applicable to me? So when that is the thought passing through my mind, when he says, look, I am not Procter & Gamble, and come back and say this, well, he relates to me. I understand that. You remember the Bill Clinton Ford, I mean, not Ford, Bush example of presidential speech?
Yeah.
Presidential debate? That was there in the classic version. I don't know whether it is there here. In that, I have been through that. This is what you may think. I have been through that. I mean, it hits home. I fully feel that, saying that, look, I'm not Procter and Gamble, was reflecting the audience thought process at that time. I was thinking that way. And when he reflected it exactly that way, I said, aha, look, he relates to me very well. Okay, so I don't look at it as belittling himself. That's the point of view I had.
Okay, that's a good feedback. So
I'll say that, yeah.
yeah. So it could be viewed like, yeah, I see where Julie's coming from, because like some people, again, every speech is viewed in a different people's lenses, right? They all have different lenses, and some people may latch on to it in a negative way or looking at it that way, and some people like, why is he going there? And some people will say, yeah, I can relate to it. It's again a choice you have to make. In my case, I don't think I made a choice; it just happened. I don't think.
Just an idea. You could say, now we are not Procter and Gamble, so just bring Somian's idea into. We are not Procter and Gamble, but this still helps us. Right. So that folds you and your audience into the same place.
Yeah. One thing I want to say is this. This was probably like my 5th time I've given this speech. Those are kind of things that eventually. See, one of the things that I want to emphasize here, not from my experience but from others, is these are kind of things that will happen in a speech, and this is what gets people scared, like, oh, what if I say something inappropriate? You cannot always protect against that because you're not reading a speech. There are things that are going to come up in your mind as you're speaking, as you're in the moment. Things may come up. You may veer off a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. You somehow have to bring it under control. And what I like to emphasize to people out there who are watching this is that there are no perfect speeches. You are going to make these type of little flubs here and there, but you got to recover quickly, because if you just then say, oh, by the way, I apologize for saying that, I shouldn't have said that, then you're bringing more attention to it. But again, like I said, some people will view it in a positive manner. Some people may not view it. Like in Somian's case, he said like, hey, he was like, why is he giving me all these examples? Like, I never even thought of it that way till he mentioned it. Like, why is he giving me Starbucks? I'm like a one-person company. How is this related to what I do in my life? And I think he viewed it in a very positive manner, which I didn't even think about. So that's why you need feedback. All right. So any closing thoughts? I think this was very valuable, guys. Thank you very much for your feedback. And like I would say that after giving this speech, I would go and improve it more based on the feedback, and that's how the whole process works. So if anybody out there who are currently working on their informative speech, don't get disappointed if you get bad reviews or whatever the reviews are. It's a process. You got to keep on working on it, and if you do that, you will eventually keep on improving as you go through this iterative process.
So I got a lot out of it. I got a lot out of it too. Thank you very much. Yeah, right, I definitely will.
By the way, are you planning to give this speech to somebody anytime soon, or this was just you getting ready for it for a future opportunity to give this speech? This is a speech that you would eventually give at some point in time,
well,
right?
I do give meditation workshops, but it's already people who wants to meditate. So in a sense, this is a little different in tone, because this one I'm not preaching to the choir, Usually I'm preaching to the choir in the sense that people already want to meditate, and I'm teaching them how. But in this one, I'm trying to bring them into the fold. So I hope to give this speech sometime.
Right. Okay, so let's...
I think that opportunity to make a speech and then get a feedback from you guys. Perhaps when there are more participants, this kind of opportunity is not going to be available. So I thought it may not be there, and as a mentor, we may not come and occupy the available time. But then it so happened that today was a lean day, and it turned out to be this way. But fine, at least it's going to be useful for those who watch it offline. But anyway, it was a good session. I appreciate that and understand.
Okay, that was good. So, okay, guys, thank you again for...
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think that part of the thing of being a mentor is that we're also students. So I think we need to show students that we also are struggling, just like they are. That this is not a slam dunk. Like we can just, come up with a speech out of a hat and just be able to deliver it. It's work.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, guys, thank you, thank you very much for participating, and enjoy your weekend.
Thank you.
Okay? All right, bye. See you next week.
Bye.